frustrating. I can clean that one up, though, when I edit it.
Oh, I like that. That sounded good.
It sounded terrible. It was like everything, everywhere, all at once, only bad.
And then twice.
Yeah, hey, everybody. Welcome back to Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussion. I'm Bill. That's Chris. Yep. We're here to talk about films. Specifically films that are, well, actually, no, we're not talking about films that are cult films. This week, we're talking about 2024 releases that potentially could become cult films down the road. And I think we have two very good examples of films that could end up there.
Yeah.
This week, we are doing two films that are exclusive to the streaming service Shudder. Not sponsored. We just love Shudder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We are doing Exuma, which is a Korean film. And we are doing Oddity, which is a British film. I believe it. Is it British or is it Irish? I believe it's British.
Oh, that's a good question. I am too tired to remember, so I'm going to look it up.
I mean, I'll have to put the information in front of me momentarily also, but let's see. Let's do some housekeeping if there is any. We're going to do our music show like we usually do, week between Christmas and New Year's. I don't have the date yet, but we'll stream that live for you guys to check out if you want. I don't really, because it's end of year, so there's really not a whole lot going on. Did I mention that you can watch Kyle's first documentary, Phantasm, on Amazon Prime? Did I mention that?
No, I don't remember hearing that.
Well, if you want to see a young Bill and Chris, and by young, I mean like 2016? Was it 2015 maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
24? Maybe it was 2014?
I don't remember.
I don't know. Kyle made it a while ago. All you guys know Kyle, my production partner, who I made Survive All the Film Freaks with, and I made Don't Forget to Leave, and The Woodsman, and we got a whole bunch of stuff. He made so him and I met through a documentary that he was making called Phantasm with an F. Phantasm. Phantasm.
Yeah. It wasn't Phantasm with an F. It was Phantasm, but it begins with the letter F.
Yes. That would probably be more on point.
No, it's just me trying to find something to say.
That's fair too.
You know, because I'm here. So
you are here. This is
I'll
true.
say some stuff.
So he did a documentary on horror conventions, essentially. And Chris and I were talking heads in it. That's how we met Kyle. So that's how Kyle became part of our world and my business partner. So
yeah,
check it out. It's on Amazon Prime for the first time. It's never been available for streaming before. It's now available to watch on Amazon Prime. So there you go. There's that. I don't feel like I have a lot. You got anything you need to share with anybody?
I had one thought.
Yeah, go for it.
It's about Zack Snyder.
It's random.
I know, it really is. But I was driving and I was thinking, why don't they just let him edit the movie, since that's the version everybody always loves? Don't make the movie twice. Just let him make it once. Yeah,
but if they make him, if you make it twice, then you get the diehards to watch it twice.
Shit. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Because everyone will go and watch it, and then everyone will be like, oh, I can't wait to see Snyder's Cut. And then they put out Snyder's Cut, and everyone watches Snyder's Cut.
Yeah.
That's a random thing to bring up right now. He doesn't even have anything out currently.
No, so. I know. I was just thinking, like, there are so many of his films that have director's cuts that were better comparatively.
No, you're not wrong.
I drive a drive that should be 22 minutes, and in the morning it's been taking an hour and 5. So Oof. I have a lot of time to just sit still and think of dumb shit.
Man, yeah. How much fun is driving into Boston? None.
No.
None whatsoever.
It's not fun when the sun's out because it's right in your eyes. If you're going in or coming out of the city, it doesn't matter. It's right in your eyes.
True. It is right in your eyes.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Oddity and Exuma, 2 films on Shudder this week, 2 2024 releases. The next couple of weeks we're going to be trying to do our cleanup. We're a little behind on it because of my surgery, and I didn't really focus on anything for the show while we were down all that time when I probably should have. I could have friggin' banked a whole bunch of stuff and didn't, but it is what it is. So the next couple of weeks we're doing 2024 releases, and these are both on Shudder. Let's just get right into it. I think both of these films are going to be kind of tough to talk about without spoilers. So maybe we will start with a non-spoiler review and then give a spoiler warning. I feel though like maybe we should grade it and then go into spoilers. So that way people can listen to the review in full.
Yep.
We'll try that this week. Let's give that a whirl this week.
Why not? Something new after 45 years.
17 in February.
I know.
We have been doing OTC for 17 years come middle of February.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny.
17 years.
The reason I know either how old my kids are or how old the show is because they were born within a month of each other. So.
Yes. Yes, they were.
Yeah,
I think our actual anniversary is a little bit earlier than February, but I can't even use the dividing the episode number anymore because when I got sick last year, we missed a couple. We missed like what, a month?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
month and a half, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, all right. Hey, do you have a preference on which one we do first?
Not really.
All right. Well, let's do them in the order I watched them then.
Okay.
So we'll start with Exuma.
That's what I did.
And I should have a trailer ready to go here.
왜 자꾸 애들 꿈에 나오시는 걸까요? 누가 할머니 이 가지고 있네.
미국에 좀 이상한 집안에 다녀왔거든요. 밑도 끝도 없는 뭐 그냥
부자예요? 시작이 좋네. 내가 한 40년 땀 파먹고 살았지만 여긴 도저히 모르겠다. 박정우 씨 우리한테 뭐 숨기는 게 있죠?
대살구슬해보죠.
유세차임이 한기가 엄청나네. 이게 무슨 말이야? 파괴됐다니. 애들 다 죽어.
뭐가 나왔다고 거기서. 겁나 험한 게.
All right. 2024's Exuma. I've turned my headphones down and now they're too quiet. Damn it. All right. Starring Old Boy. Starring Daesu. Choi Mun-sik. Also starring Jung Yeon-ha, Kim Go-eun, Lee Do-han. That's your main crew right there. This is directed by Jang Jae-hun, who I'm actually not familiar with. Looks like he worked on The Priests, which I know I've seen. 2015, but I don't really he's done looks like a bunch of writing. He directed Exuma, Saba, The Sixth Finger, The Priest, and 12th Assistant Deacon. Other than The Priest, I don't recognize those other two flicks.
Yeah, no.
But I feel like, if I'm not wrong, and I have been known to be, so I feel like every year there's one Korean horror film that kind of like steps up above the rest of the stuff and is like, oh shit. Like this is the movie. A couple years ago it was I already forgot the one Best Picture.
Oh, Parasite. I wasn't sure if you were going for that one or not.
Yeah. I mean, Old Boy director, so I'll take that. The Wailing, wasn't The Wailing a Korean film also, I think?
I believe so.
So,
The Sadness?
The Sadness, I think. Yep.
That's one I don't ever want to talk about again.
Yeah, I go into so many of these thinking they're Japanese and then realizing that they're Korean. And the Korean genre film has always been very, very solid.
Yeah.
And this is no exception. Not saying whether the quality of the film, but just like production value, bang for your buck, incredible. All right, Exuma. The story is actually quite simple.
Yeah.
You have a group who basically come in and they're geomancers, and they come in and they exhume dead loved ones, and that if the ghosts have like come to like curse, and so this whole thing starts with a curse on a family. The youngest son in a family is seeing the ghost and like won't stop crying, so they need to exhume the coffin and burn the coffin. Super oversimplification of it.
Yeah, but I mean that's what it boils down to.
And this movie plays out almost like two films in one, whereas your midway point, they solve one problem and discover they have another one that is actually probably a bigger one.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is necessarily a spoiler, but they exhume the grandfather / father, do what they need to do with him, salt and burn the bones, and then realize there's something else buried in the grave.
Yeah. And I love in movies when, it's, okay, so there's a double, that's not unheard of. And they're like, there was buried standing up. It's like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
All right.
And as they pull the coffin out, it's like keeps getting bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good, 3 feet by 8 feet, 2 feet by 8 feet.
It was big. It was probably
bigger than a coffin.
Yeah. Bigger than any human coffin. I mean, this would have been good for like Manute Bol.
Yeah.
Like big and tall. So like so many different Korean films that we've seen, the rituals, the curses, the folklore, the history, all of that stuff plays into this. And so much of their horror films really lie in history and, folklore. This is a dense film.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, but also nothing going on. So you're like, you're pelted with history. You're pelted with different things. But what it does that a lot of other films, and especially American films, it takes its slow burn and builds a sense of foreboding in it that is just like, by the time it kind of gets to your reveal / breaking point or whatever, however you want to look at it, it's like almost like it's almost suffocating, like how heavy the dread that they've built in figuring out what's going on is.
Yeah.
There was something I was going to add. There was something I wanted to ask you about this in comparison to something, and now, of course, I didn't write it down and I didn't put it in my notes here, so I don't have it in my head. So why don't you say something about this movie while I try to remember it?
Okay. This movie had I did like how it changed. It changed focus, but it didn't, because they're still trying to figure out what the problem is, because it relates back to this baby. But the whether or not like the ultimate antagonist in the film is impressive or not, character wise or whatever, they did a great job building everything up. Like you were saying, the atmosphere in this is palpable. No, it's they
palpable.
They bring
exhausting.
It really was a tiring movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk in the beginning. It reminded me of Bob's Burgers. There's a lot of lantern talk. There's always a lot of lantern talk, but this is all feng shui and finding resting places for the deceased ancestors with the proper flow and angle and all that. And that's why the grave that they go to freaks the guy out, because he's like, who picked this fucking spot? They like buried him in the forest and stuff, but it was pretty much like a sewer as far as he was concerned.
It was on top of a mountain, facing North Korea.
Yeah.
So
and they're like, what the hell?
Right. Yeah. So Choi Mun-sik, who he's been in so many great films. He plays Kim. He's what they call a geomancer, who is basically a guy who has some sort of connection with the other side. And he basically tells people where they should and shouldn't bury their loved ones. He sells different plots based on the vibes from the grave area or supernatural like yes and no's, or because we see when we first meet him, they're exhuming a body in a nice area that's in like rolling hills and stuff, and he knows what's wrong, and he knows why the grandmother's ghost is haunting them or whatever, and he knows, oh well, where's her teeth?
Yeah.
So so his role is to advise people what plots they want to buy. And basically it's the type of thing where like if you bury the person and you did something to either take from them, or it's not good land, or like there's something else, they're going to come back and haunt your ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And what also is really interesting about this movie is that all of this is just taken as, yeah, it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Except for us, the problem is we're playing catch up on all of this ritual stuff going on, when other people would at least have a passing familiarity with it, I would imagine, because some of the stuff, I'm going to be honest, as an outsider, kind of silly looking, but they played it so straight that, okay, that's got to be, at least that had to be a tradition at some point somewhere. So they sold it really well.
They did, yeah. So we're introduced to Park and his family. We know that they've got this. The young child is being stalked by the ghost of the grandfather. But we're almost immediately like brought into there's something more to this, and the family isn't saying exactly what it is, and that really is where the history of Korea and the Japanese occupation of Korea play actually a very vital role in the story here. And if you're not really paying attention, some of these things can get past you, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what the hell's going on? I'm not going to say that happened to anyone and they had to rewind 20 minutes and go back and be like, ah, shit, I wasn't paying close enough attention, and now I'm lost. That's basically the equivalent of a movie slapping me on the wrist, of being like, "Hey, this is good. Pay attention."
That's good. That's not bad.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen to me often. Like I'm usually pretty good with that stuff, but this one, because it was so dense, and so I brought up the IMDb while I was watching it, and I was just like, where do I know this person from? And like then I was like, oh shit, now I have no idea what's happening, because it's like I shouldn't say the one, because there's information brought to the story throughout, but like the information that I drastically needed, I missed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then for like 30 seconds they'll have English conversation, and you'll be like, oh, okay, good. Now I can just listen, and I don't have to read and process and assign the tone of that to what's written on the screen, and figure, oh nope, they're speaking Korean again. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. It's really,
and that's only because this one had a lot of stuff I was unfamiliar with.
Yeah. So they go to exhume this coffin of the father and grandfather, and like Kim immediately is like, there's something. This is not a good plot. Like this is like, he tastes the dirt and like spits it out. He's like, this is not a place you would want to bury, someone significant of your family. So like, why is he here? What's going on? Why is he here?
And then the son's acting all sketchy, so you're like, oh, okay. It's his fucking fault.
Right. So they do the big ceremony with Bong Gil and Gwang Sim, and they are, she's chanting her things that she's chanting. She's the shaman. He's got the connection, so he's doing the rhythmic stuff. Like it's all very bombastic in the way it's presented. I mean, we've seen tons of movies over the years where people are doing different ceremonies and whatnot, and it's usually like mostly usually much more quiet and reserved. But this was like, she's into it. She's chanting. She's moving. Him and another guy are banging away on the drums, and it's like crazy.
Yeah, they're trying to scare the whatever it is out of there into these pig carcasses that she has. And here's where I'm going to say it's a good thing this wasn't the UK, because some prime minister would have come along and stuck his wangle in its mouth. But I was concentrating too much on like what she was doing, as opposed to just what the overall ceremony was supposed to do. Because I would, whatever spirit, jump into these pigs that she's slicing up, like actively slicing up. That just screams it's a trap, and I don't even care if you know. So I did have to go back and watch some scenes again, because I started thinking, and I'm like, I don't know enough about any of this religion to even guess. So
right.
I just,
but needless
I'm just
to
like,
say,
fine, here we go.
Yeah, something goes wrong, as it's wont to do. They don't get the ghost, and now the ghost has been brought back or what, like ever. So like, there's this great scene where somebody comes into the morgue that they're holding the coffin in before they bring it to be cremated, and like, it's a simple grave robber thing where somebody's trying to crack it open and steal something, but they release the ghost, and then the ghost takes off for LA and starts offing everyone in the family. So this kind of brings us to like the ceremony where they're going to take care of this, kind of finishing this first chapter or this first book of the film. And they are able to do that, and we think that everything is good. And then one of the guys that was digging the grave that came with them falls ill. Kim visits him, and he mentions that there was a snake in the grave, and he's like, "What type of snake?" Because this is weird supernatural stuff, so that's very important.
Yeah.
We don't at the time. He's like, I don't know, a snake.
Did you catch it before?
I just knew that it had a weird head.
Okay, good. And it screamed when he cut the head off of it with the shovel. It screamed almost like a human.
Yeah. So then
he's cursed. Imagine that.
I know. So Kim goes back to the grave to try to find what happened, and then comes to realize that there's something else buried in the grave.
That was a good prop of that snake head, though. That looked disturbing.
It was cool. Yeah. And this is where we go into the second story, even though it's related to the first story. It's almost like it could be like a sequel or whatever, kind of the way.
Well, yeah, because you can't have one without the other in this instance.
Yeah. But it works. It works, despite being very dense, somewhat disjointed in the way it's kind of stories being told. It has you like, and I'm like, no, I need to know what's buried in that grave. And as they start to dig it out and try to figure, and he's telling the other three of them, let's see, and they're like the shaman. She's like, no, why don't we just leave this alone?
Yeah, can we put it back where it came from?
Because they pull
that coffin back where it came from, or so help me. Yeah,
they pull the coffin out, and it's wrapped in barbed wire, and they're like, "Oh, is this to keep people from getting in?" And they're like, "It looks like it's keeping whatever's in there from getting out."
Yep. That's the one cliched line in the whole movie, pretty much.
Yeah, but it works. It works.
It does.
So I guess maybe we should probably kind of tie this up and kind of give it a grade, and then we'll talk a little bit of spoilers after the grade. So let's do that. Whoops. All right, Chris, Exuma.
Yeah. So this is one of them there movies where I watch it and I can appreciate it, and I know that it's a good movie because I can tell what a good movie is, whether it's to my taste or not. Mm-hmm. And most of the day and yesterday, I was thinking about why didn't I like it?
Interesting. Okay.
And I figured it out while we were doing the review. It's just I need to watch it more than once. Mm-hmm. Because the first time you get familiar with that world of, traditional natural ghost busting, and the second time through, like I watched a few of the key scenes the second time, and knowing how the story's going sort of helps you become that main woman. Because then you have the knowledge of what needs to be done, and you get to see how that goes. It feels more comfortable to me. Yeah. So I was not a big fan of this until, about halfway through the review.
I get that.
Because-
I get that.
Yeah, sometimes I just don't. I saw the characters as lackadaisical and just like worse than Italian cops in the movies. Like they didn't have any kind of like, well, we got to go do something. They're all like lounging. It felt like for 50% of the movie, digging for another 25%, but that's not actually the case. So it's like what sticks in my head and what doesn't. Like the drop in the exposition isn't as important in my memory apparently as doing actual things and the face off between, well, actually multiple different characters have words and stuff. So yeah, I'm just kind of working through to the end of this where I'm like, yeah, I was definitely going to recommend it one way or the other. And it is good. But I don't know how good. So I'm just going to give it a B.
Okay.
Because it's that kind of good, but I don't know about personally.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm definitely recommending it. It was really good, I thought. It's been a while since I had a film that demanded my attention as much as this did, by the fact that I had to watch it 1.5 times because I made the mistake of not giving it my full attention, and then but it was too good to not to give up on it, just to go back. Love the way it's shot, classic Korean horror film feel, look, the great overhead shots going into the forest, the sense of dread that's built in this film as it goes is just so expertly done. Because
you get the resignation of the main character there, where he's like, this isn't going to end well, and I can't do anything to stop it. And he doesn't say it, but you can see it on him. It's like the way his clothes hang on him or something just gives that feeling off.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's full subtitles, so you got to give it your attention. But I think the fact that we don't see a lot of supernatural stuff, it's very actually limited when you actually see, I think plays to its strengths because it feels more real that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Obviously we'll talk about the spoilers momentarily, but when you get to like that thing at the end, like you see more of that, but it's still not like as like clear as like an American film would make it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's very good. So I'm going to, this is going to be high on my end of year list. I don't know if it's my favorite film of the year, but I really enjoyed it. I'll go A-. I really liked it. I really liked it. And for me to say it's that I would sit and watch it again is something, because you know me, I don't really rewatch films very often. So,
I don't know if I knew that.
I mean, not often. Certain ones
it's not something that comes up.
No, I very rarely rewatch films.
Huh.
Yeah. Comedies and stuff I'll probably watch more, but like heavy like horror movies
yeah.
But
that makes sense.
Anyway, all right. So that's the basic review. Let's give a little bit of spoilers because I do want to talk about this with Chris because the end of this film gets pretty fucking nutty. So I would say we're gonna do 5 to 10 minutes of spoiler talk here. So if you don't want it spoiled, fast forward and jump into the next review. So all right. So they dig up this coffin and it's huge, and the huge thing gets out. And it's the ghost of like a killer samurai. Yeah.
Yeah, but not like you would think, like it's just somebody in their like traditional outfit to be buried in, and they were like World War II, because they talk about the wars, war over.
The history when you find out what's going on with him and how the father was buried on top of him, the history of the Korean occupation by the Japanese is a major plot point of it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a swerve I did not see coming.
No.
Oh wait, that was not a Nazi joke. That was just me being honest.
No, yeah, I didn't see it either. I was just going to walk right by your joke there. So
No, it wasn't a joke. That was
Right,
just
well,
a
yeah.
sentence. I really didn't intend that. So,
um,
ugh.
and it's big and it's nasty.
Yeah. It's more of like a personification of, the ghost's emotional state. And he wants his helmet. That's like real Sleepy Hollow type stuff right
Yeah.
there. But I'm not making fun of it for that. Like, you don't see that very often, except in, I guess, a bunch of slasher movies. But shit. Defeat my own arguments.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, I might as well just get it done for everybody there in the beginning. I don't know what my point was. I was surprised it went this supernatural at the end.
Yeah.
Because
Full on.
but the movie's really smart because it goes through the first ritual that looks ridiculous, and it's like, this is a show we put on for rubes, like the Native American on Parks and Recreation that's up there talking in his native language, calling everybody in the town stupid, and having a laugh about it. That's how it felt, like what they were doing. But then as it goes on and you get the snake with the woman's head, once that happened, then, it's like railroad tracks. And it's like, do we stay realistic or do we're going down there. I don't know if there's rails left, but we'll see. Get it? Because it could go off the rails.
I get it. I
Tried. That one wasn't good.
Hit flat, but that's okay.
I appreciated that they did that. I'm not a fan of the creature's face. It felt soft,
Yeah.
like squishy. But that's fine. That's the choice they made. That's what we got. And it was uncomfortable looking, but I thought he had a very, very well-defined, intimidating presence when he was there.
Yeah, and when you get the motivations and you get the history's lesson as to why it's happening, it makes sense for what it is. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's crazy, yeah, but it makes sense. And when they do the big ritual at the end, like you said, it's all feels within the world that they've built.
Yeah. That's important. Real important.
Very important. Very important. I guess that's the only spoiler stuff. It feels weird to talk about the stuff after we've graded it.
I know. Well, I mean,
I'm so used to
I'm
I'm so used to ending the review with that, and then trying to figure out the point that we should move on. So we're gonna move on to
All right.
Oddity, which is also 2024, also available on Shudder. Here is a trailer. It won't be in Korean.
Could you open the door?
What do you want?
You're in trouble.
What?
Would you just open the door? I am telling you that there is someone in there with you. Why do you want it?
He took my sister's life. I want to see what was going through his mind. You said I should visit on Danny's anniversary.
The thought of another patient showing up at the front door here.
Would you allow them in?
Of course not.
My sister would never allow a strange man into her home in the middle of the night.
She's saying some weird things to me, Dad.
She's clearly not well.
Do you mind staying out here alone at night?
I'm just telling you what I saw.
Danny's ghost. My dead wife is not haunting this house.
What is this?
Put them back! This is not real. As I've always believed, there's nothing that can't be explained.
All right. Oddity. No, stop. Oddity, directed by Damian McCarthy, who wrote and directed the film Caveat from a couple of years ago, which was surprisingly good. That's also available to watch in Shudder. If you haven't seen that, I recommend checking that out. This stars Carolyn Bracken, Johnny French, Steve Wall, Joe Rooney, Willem Lee, and Tag Murphy, and Caroline Menton. And Ivan D. Welfgroff is the Wooden Man. Where to start with this one?
As I'm watching this, I paused it at about 16, 22 minutes, right in between there. And I turned to my wife and I said, this is what's happening. This is how it's going to end. And I was close.
You were, okay.
I had the motive and one of the people involved trying to figure out what to say. But it was that early. And the weird thing about this movie is it's sort of a straight up revenge flick.
Yeah.
Disguised as an A24 psychological horror in a way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Because this woman knows it's demonstrated earlier that she can touch things and see stuff. And so in the trailer, when she gets the glass eye, she's gonna see what happened.
Right.
And
so, all right. So let's back.
That's a great thing.
Yeah, let's back up just a little bit. So you have Ted and Danny.
We should.
Ted and Danny are married. They have recently purchased a new house, which is this beautiful castle-like home somewhere in the English countryside.
Irish. It's
Irish countryside. Yes, thank you. Yes. So one night, though, while Ted's at work, Danny receives a creepy visitor at the front door. You get that in the trailer.
Yeah.
Shows up.
I didn't know that when Always Sunny went to Ireland that Cricket went with them too and made this movie. That's all I could think of with the one eye and the stringy hair and everything.
Yeah.
Looked just like him.
So this guy shows up at Danny's door and is like, hey, I just saw you outside. Someone went in the house while you were getting something out of the car. You're in danger. Let me in and I'll help.
Yeah.
And yes, looking at this guy with his one fake eye, straggly hair, they're in the middle of nowhere, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, no, I'm not fucking letting you in.
And he's like, sort of like, eventually he's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, he does. And that's funny because he does. He's like, no, listen, I understand what this is, but I'm telling you, there's somebody else in there. Like, and she's just like, no, I'm sorry. I can't let you in. And I get that side of it too.
Yep.
So it all works. So he's basically like, all right, listen, you stand here by the door so that you can get out. I'm going to go into town and get the police and help.
Yeah.
So that's what he does.
And then because he walks away, you believe him.
Yeah.
That he's there to help, which is a weird thing for somebody that looks like that to do.
Right. Right. So after he leaves and she makes a stupid decision, she thinks she might hear something, but she's not sure. So she's got a camera set up that is on a timer that's taking photos, every 10 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
Because she's looking for energies and spirits. And she's like, oh yeah, she leaves a message at one point and tells Ted, she's like, oh, I've seen a bunch of orbs, but no like spirits or anything like that. So we know that she's involved in like supernatural stuff in some way. But so she grabs the camera and realizes, oh, it's been taking photos. So if somebody came in, I'll see it. And they're just fixing this house up. So she's sleeping in a tent. Yeah. And she gets into the tent.
Yeah.
And zips the tent closed.
Mm-hmm.
And then looks at the photos, only to realize that, this guy was not joking. Mm-hmm. Somebody came into the house and she has a photo of them.
Yeah.
And then she undoes the tent and you get a very classic jump scare. And of course she can't get away and she's now murdered. We learn that after this happening, the man that was at the front door murdered her. Well, actually, I jumped I just spoiled a bunch of shit, didn't I?
No, because Rickety Cricket didn't kill anybody.
Right. But we're not let in on that until pretty far into the movie.
Yeah, but no, I mean, if he's going into town to help people, I'm taking this character at his word because he went and did what he said he was going to do.
Right. The front half of the movie, though, everyone is led to believe that he killed her.
Yes, that is true.
So I apologize.
He did it. No, that's like the same thing almost. Personally.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a ender spoiler, but like it is a little bit of a. So either way, so Ted shows up. We meet Darcy, who is Danny's twin.
Yep.
She is blind. She runs a curiosity shop of cursed items.
Yep.
And she is psychic, can see the future, or not see the future, but can see the past through other people's close objects.
Mm-hmm.
Ted brings her the fake eye of the guy that supposedly killed Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Ted then is like, oh, you should, you should come up to the house sometime. We're working on it. And she's like, we're working on it. He's like, oh, yes, my girlfriend, Olga, or was that her name? No, Yana. My girlfriend, Yana, we're living together at the house. And she's like, oh, you're living in the house that you bought with Danny with your new girlfriend? Yeah, I'm not into that.
That's about 16 to 22 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, he killed her. He did it. I mean, obviously, it's always the husband.
Yep. We're just completely spoiling this for everyone. I'm sorry.
No, because if you're watching it,
but if you don't figure it out, you're spoiling just because you figured it out.
Everybody, didn't you, when he said, oh yeah, we met a year ago in the hospital when we were working together? Like, bullshit. Like,
well, I mean, yeah, that
knows.
was bullshit, but I didn't immediately go to he killed her.
Oh no, that's exactly, that was how fast I did it. Because look at him,
got
he's
there
fucking
eventually.
Douche-looking asshole too.
Yeah, he's the most.
They really picked a guy with a good dickhead face.
Yeah. This exhausted me. So he's like, you should come up sometime, and she's like, okay, yeah, maybe, or whatever. So she goes upstairs. She opens up the thing with the eye. She touches the eye, and we know that she's seen something that she did not want to see, or she's been opened up to some information which we've already given you.
Yeah.
And then we see Ted and Olga, and Ted and Olga. Why do I keep calling her Olga? Yana.
I don't know.
And Yana's just basically like, hey, listen, you work nights, and I'm here in this house that you bought with your now dead wife. And like, I'm freaked out, and you're never home. So like, what are we going to do here?
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, well, the doctor's going to retire. So as soon as the doctor retires, I can switch my schedule. And she's like, all right, just so you know, I'm staying at my apartment in the city. I'm not staying here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. He basically tried to say, what are we going to do about it? You're going to shut the fuck up about it is what we're going to do about it.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like,
he's that kind of guy.
So there's a giant chest delivered from Darcy.
Yeah.
And she's like, Ted says like, oh, where did this come from? And she's like, oh, it got delivered today or whatever. And he's like, I remember seeing that at Darcy's, but I don't know. And he's like, I'll just return to her, when I see her. And then they open the door and she's standing outside.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I liked the way they did that little reveal.
She's got something she has to do. So no time to waste.
So she's basically like, oh, you told me to come visit. He's like, but yeah, I meant like you'd call first and we'd set up a time and like be ready for it. He's like, I'm going to work. And Yana's like, and I have to go back into the city, so I'm not going to be here either. And she's like, oh,
I love
but
her answer. Her
what
answer
did she say?
It's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's such I have shit to do and I'm not telling you what it is and you're not going to stop me from doing it. So go do whatever the fuck you want. You have to come back here eventually.
Yeah. So Ted leaves eventually after being like, all right, yeah, I guess you can stay. They kind of go back and forth. And Yana's like, I don't want her to stay here. And like, I don't blame Yana.
No, I was on her side with that decision. Definitely.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to be here with this lady.
Yeah.
So Yana's trying to get it back into the city, but her keys have gone missing. And okay, I called that one. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, obviously Darcy took them.
Yeah.
So Yana comes back into the house, and now the trunk is open. And what is inside the trunk and now sitting at the kitchen table, Chris?
It's a horrific full-grown Pinocchio that never turned into a real boy.
Yeah.
It's this Robin Williams bicentennial looking man thing made out of wood, and it's in an eternal scream. And all its muscles look all tensed and tight individually, every like grouping and chord. Like it's just is this gnarled, angry sculpture of a human.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, very
I wanted it off
unsettling.
my screen.
It looked like was it the Fear that had the weird like wood? It's called the Fear. I remember the cover, the
I don't
VHS
know.
cover.
All I can think of is the native from Native American from Creepshow 2, and that did not look the same.
Yeah.
Rubbery.
Maybe the Fear. I think it was the Fear was the name
All
of
right.
it. Anyway, so now Yana is stuck there with Darcy and the wooden man.
Yeah.
And she's trying to be hospitable as she can, but Darcy is very not what you would call a good house guest.
No, she's blunt. But she has a reason to be pissed.
She does.
So it's kind of like temper. Like she's cold, but right now she's chilled because she could have gone in there swinging, and she didn't. So she's just like she's basically hunting them without them knowing it. It's really interesting.
The first, I would say, hour of this film, much like the last film, does a really, really good job of building the intensity and making you uncomfortable in every way, shape, and form. Because every second Darcy is on screen. Darcy is played by the same actress that played Danny.
She did a great job. It took me a little bit to realize that and remember it after that.
Agreed. But every second she is on screen, you're like curling your toes. Like, what's she gonna do? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, she was fascinating for me to watch. I had no idea which way she was going to go with any of it.
All the little things of like Yana leaving the room and then coming back, and the doll is just like slightly moved. Like the head is dropped back, and now the head is facing up.
Yep.
And she keeps thinking she's seeing Danny, and she is actually like she's seeing the ghost of Danny. Just very briefly, and there's a point where Darcy falls asleep and Yana's just like, all right, like this is crazy. She goes downstairs to go to the bathroom, and like the doll moves again, and she's all freaked out, and she finds her car keys in the box where the dummy was.
Yeah.
And grabs the keys and is like, fuck this, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Takes off. And knowing what comes after this, that was Darcy basically letting her go because she didn't really have anything to do with what happened.
Yeah. She's just the catalyst for the whole thing. Like you get cheated on by enough people, you start to realize I shouldn't be mad at the guy at all because people lie. They might not know. The ones that knew, though, they can go to hell, but still. Yeah, it was nice that she let her go because it shows that she just had a single purpose in mind.
And through all of this stuff, we are getting shots back to the hospital where Ted is. And that's where that story starts to unravel. He's got the orderly there with him, and they're discussing some things, and they say some stuff that doesn't make sense. And then, before we get the full info dump on everything, like that's where I put the story. Just prior to that is where I finally put all of the pieces together on it. But what's really, I think, great about this film is in building all this intensity and making it just super uncomfortable. This film never takes itself too serious.
It feels like it does, but you're right.
It doesn't. Like that shit with the bellhop when she's talking about the bell, and like the wooden doll is just like, it's ridiculous. I mean,
It is.
it's super,
Yeah.
super unnerving and uncomfortable to look at, but like, it's just this like goofy, like, and the whole thing like plays itself off in this very interesting way, in a way and a feel that you don't get, I feel, in a lot of movies. It makes this movie feel very original without it actually being like an original story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I haven't looked up the wooden golem, I guess is one way to put it. But
Well, the golem's usually clay, isn't it?
yeah, and that's from Jewish folklore, but I'm sure that there's this actually looked like it was carved out of wood that you'd find growing in briars in Ireland. There's got to be something. Every culture has different myths about creating life, and he was this wooden dude. She said was a protector made by the father. Is that what it was?
The father made it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's there's some really interesting stuff. And after we did this, not before because I've been way too busy at work, honestly, for once, for real. I was gonna try and read up on them and see what their name was and all that, because you know, with banshees and all the other stuff, there's got to be, you know, there's trees that grow and look human, like the way the trunk is shaped or the way the branches come off or something. Everybody's seen a tree that sort of looks human shaped. I watch Lord of the Rings. Is what I'm saying.
It's fair. It's fair.
No.
We've all been there. But yeah, I feel like the tones I thought mixed surprisingly well. I do think the end of the film is not nearly as strong as the lead up to it. But it's not such a like drop that it hurts it. I still really enjoyed everything. Like the buildup is incredible. I think the buildup is incredible. First hour and 5 minutes. Awesome.
Yeah.
Then something happens to Darcy, and I feel like things get a little shaky after that point. But I loved the like attention to the surroundings, because the house that they filmed this in is terrifying. It's really long and narrow.
Yeah, there are a lot of those shots. Yeah.
So there's these great shots of like somebody being at one end of the room. Like the doll was at the head of the table on the opposite end of the room. And there's a really great shot where Yana comes down the stairs and like she sees the doll sitting on the opposite end of the room at the table. And it's just this really great shot. The film is very dark. It's filmed dark purposefully. Like it's, you know, I liked it, but I think it might have been a little too dark at a few points. But
yeah.
I totally
Otherwise
get what
it
he was
was
going for. So
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, it was filmed really well.
yeah, love the way it looked. It had a great look. It had a great feel. Proper revenge comeuppance happen in this, and it's great. Yeah, it's runs like almost exactly 90 minutes, I think. No, hour 38, maybe it's an hour 35, hour 40, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But it was tight, and it went by fairly quickly, I thought.
It says here, Oddities, Damian McCarthy reveals the origins of his wooden man.
Oh, cool.
Starts basically he said it Gollum.
Oh, okay. There we go.
I'm
Thanks.
just gonna skim through it, and the wooden man was born from legend. 1 year anniversary, full size carving in the shape of a screaming naked man. The wooden man is an instantly arresting figure. Yes,
100%. Yep.
Yeah, it says even that doesn't stop Yana from probing his open mouth with her fingers and exploring the holes drilled in its head, which I don't want to talk about because there's stuff that you need to see.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so this is definitely a Gollum, because you put the piece of paper and all that stuff.
Yeah. All right, let's grade it. And we already ruined a chunk of it, so I don't think we need to come back to it, but let's give it a grade. All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for Oddity?
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend it if you like something that's slow. This is definitely slow. You know where it's headed. And the reason you're watching is because you want to see what happens when it gets there. At least that's how it is for me. The actor, the two douchebag actors were really good in their roles.
Yeah.
I could believe that they were like that all the time. I don't know. They're not, probably.
Hopefully they're not.
But I thought that the lead actress did fantastic, just separating the two sisters, like posture, overall look. Obviously, might not have been her decision, but the actress had to do certain things to separate them, and they really come off as more fraternal twins played by two different actresses. That's impressive. I like that. I also really love a calm and collected, like, I don't want to say like anti-hero, but like, you have a plan, you are 100% invested in it, and you have thought every angle through, and you are going in with all the answers that they didn't even know they were questions for. And that's a different angle that you don't see very often, and I like that.
Yeah.
And they didn't overplay it too much either. It didn't get like a hand of God type of stuff, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah.
now she can see into the future. It's like, no, come on.
No, it's as reality based as something like this could be.
Yeah. And I liked the look of I like short hair is what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
And yeah, so the looks of everybody was great. They all fit their personality. It was really smart, because the wife has, you know, the warm brown hair, and she's just kind to everybody. The older sister now is cold and detached from this fucking asshole. And it all really just works. The other two dudes' faces are just drained of life, and ugh. They hired good people. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to recommend this. But if you want an action-y kind of thing, this isn't it. It's not even close.
Nope.
And I'm stuck between B plus and A minus. So B plus and a half.
B plus and a half. Okay.
How about that?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna recommend this also. I loved this. I think I fucked up by putting these two movies together because they're two of the best movies I've seen this year. And we put them on the same fucking episode. And then we're gonna have next week. We'll have both of them are fucking fails. This week we got two films that are both borderline top 10, top 5 films of the year. You know, I love Oddity.
At least one of them will be fun to watch, though. Yeah, it should be.
I loved Oddity. I thought it was great. That first hour, or not, let's even break it. That first 40 minutes, the tension that's built in it is just awesome. The look, the feel, the atmosphere, the home they used, it's all perfect for what they're trying to do. Now, I will say that, you know, in the tail end, I do think this loses some steam, and that's the point where its self-awareness probably comes up a little too much. But I think it's just so strong up to that point, and then you get a nice little like old school horror movie cliche, like kind of like surprise ending, which I loved. I thought that was I laughed. I thought that was real funny, actually.
I wasn't sure if that ruined the whole movie for me or made it better, and I'm still not sure.
No, I loved it. I thought
liked
it was great,
but I don't know how to feel about it.
It's such a wink and a nod. Part because of what happened, because of what was said earlier in the film, and someone's attitude towards it. Well, let's just ring it and see what happens.
Yeah, I would not have, whether I believed or not, I would have rung that bell. I absolutely not have been able to.
Absolutely
leave it
not.
in front of me for a day. I'm hitting that button.
All right, so yeah, I loved everything about it. The ending is a little bit weaker than I think I would have hoped for, but I don't think it hurts the film nearly enough to even like. I'm going to give this an A- too. I thought this was great. There's a good chance that this will show up on my top 10 when we do the top 10 of the year. It's strong. It moves quickly. It looks great. And the wooden man is certifiably just creeptastic.
Yeah.
So There you have it. That's Oddity. This and Exuma are both available to watch on Shudder in the United States. I do not know outside of the United States. Okay, Chris, we have Joe with us again this week. He's finally not watching Psycho, and he is starting the Tremors series. And this is the first week, so we know at least one in will be okay.
That's true. That is
true. Take it away, Joe.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. Your boy Joe here, and this week Bill took me to the dusty-ass Southwest. Nevada or New Mexico or some such place that I would never, ever live. He made me watch Tremors. I remember seeing this movie in theaters with friends, and I couldn't remember the exact year. I guessed 89, and I was close. This movie came out in theaters on January 19th, 1990, which I believe was Bill's 13th birthday.
3 days after
6 days shy of my 13th birthday.
My birthday is the 16th.
But then the ADHD kicked in, and I went down like a whole rabbit hole, stopping me from starting the movie. It was like half an hour at least. Going down a rabbit hole of movies from 1990, and goddamn, this was a banner year for movies, both mainstream and cult. Dig it. On the mainstream end, there is Misery, Arachnophobia, Young Guns 2, Goodfellas, Home Alone, Hunt for Red October, Lord of the Flies, Crybaby, Total Recall, Edward Scissorhands,
Holy shit.
Die Hard 2, Pump Up the Volume, and at least a handful more, but I don't want to belabor the point before getting to the notable cult movies from 1990. Bear with me. There is Frankenhooker, The Invisible Maniac, La Femme Nikita, Night of the Living Dead remake, Class of 1999, one of my all-time favorite workplace comedies, Men at Work. I put it on the other list, but it counts for both Arachno-fucking-phobia because it rules. Darkman, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, a personal favorite of mine, House Party, Slacker, Tales from the Dark Side, Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD, Ski School, Ski Patrol, probably a half dozen other winter sport-related sex comedies, and maybe, and I need you all to listen to me very closely, maybe the most important movie to come out of 1990 worldwide, Navy SEALs.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm joking. Yeah. Before I press play, can we all just take a moment to appreciate not only how cute Reba McEntire is in this movie, but what a surprisingly competent actor she is?
Yeah.
I mean, she's got tons of TV shows and stuff.
Okay, there's the moment. Moving on. I think this movie took a lot of people by surprise. You watch the trailer and you're like, oh, they're doing like a modern version of an old 50s drive-in creature feature, and that's cool. And to be fair, that is exactly what they're doing. But then you watch it, and while it is still that, but the best example of an old school creature feature, it ticks all the boxes. There's a small town that makes small towns look big. Check. Wacky cast of characters. Check. Big ol' fuck off monster. Check. Multiple times check. Tremors did that, but added just the right level of comedy to action to scares to careful casting and throwing some actual money at the damn thing. Can you tell I fucking love this movie? I really do. Two ne'er-do-well ranch hands who lead the hapless townfolk that would have been played by Tab Hunter and Dick Miller if Corman had made this in 1960 are played by Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. Fred Ward is particularly great in this movie. Victor Wong might as well be called Egg Shen without the magic as the general store owner. Michael Gross, no longer the ex-hippie raising Reaganite Michael J. Fox in Family Ties, is basically the opposite here. He's the conspiracy theory gun nut whose trad wife is played by, again, the cute as a fucking button Reba McEntire. And just a few years after this, the girl on the pogo stick will be bumblefucking her way through a tussle with different prehistoric creatures in Jurassic Park.
Ah, nice.
Boy, Ariana What's-Her-Face has bad luck with big scary animals. So Remo Williams and the Hollow Man just want to get the fuck out of Dodge, or more accurately, a place called Perfection, Arizona, which makes my little town here in Michigan of 1,400 people, look like Detroit. It's a place so arid and dry that it might as well be a woman looking at a picture of Ben Shapiro.
Oh, I'm glad you went
They
there. That's what I
almost
was
make
expecting.
it when a prehistoric worm so big that it makes John Holmes look like... Wait, can I do 2 Ben Shapiro jokes in a row?
Sure.
Yep.
Fuck that needle dick little dweeb. I'd like to give him a wedgie and stuff him in a locker.
That wasn't much of a joke.
The big old fuck off worms have
No,
awakened.
the joke part is Ben
and
Shapiro.
To be fair, they are just doing what animals do.
Yeah.
They're just trying to eat. And these
Thriving and
scuzzy
surviving.
rednecks, who nobody will miss, keep trying to blow up the worm's spot.
Yeah.
Like literally. I mean, if I hibernated or whatever for a few millennia, I'd probably be hungry enough to eat veteran character actress and star of stage and screen Bibi Besh too. Like, say what you will about movies following a formula too closely, and Tremors absolutely follows the same story formula as 100 other creature feature movies, but it works here because they put in some effort. Ward and Bacon are hapless heroes who have responsibility thrust upon them. There's a cute but not traditionally beautiful lady from a university who just happens to be a seismologist who's studying the area. There's attacks. They think they know what to do, and that fails. And then the rest is like a run it back sequence of, in the words of a very pretentious film student, the eternal struggle between man and nature. Except this movie is fun as fuck. And if you don't have fun watching it, I honestly have nothing for you here. Like, I don't often swim around in the idea of, boy, they don't make them like that anymore. But in this case, they really don't. If they made this now, it would be done badly. It would be done badly on purpose, almost with a sense of spite for the genre of film as a whole. Like, it would be streaming on Tubi right next to Velocipaster and whatever made-up creature versus this other made-up creature. And the 12 people that would watch it, I'm sure, would love it. Like, I hate to use a vaguely Nazi-esque phrase here, but can we please make bad movies great again? Probably not. Here's the thing. Boy, I didn't mean to end that on a bummer. That one's on me, fellas. The Good. It's just fun. I like fun movies. Screw me, right? It's funny. It's got some good gore, even if they held back because they knew it was going to be distributed to a mass audience. The monsters are very, very cool. The whole cast is great. It's just, it ticks all the boxes. The Bad. Yeah. We are probably never going to get anything like this again unless someone convincingly lies to a studio executive and says like, oh, yeah. No, this is totally based on a Marvel comic. Green light. Tremors is going to get a straight A. I have seen Tremors 2 and Tremors 3, and that's it. And I know there's a fourth one because the DVD set that I own has the first 4. And then there's at least a couple other... I don't know if I've ever talked about Jamie Kennedy on this show, fellas.
You don't need to start.
I don't know if I've ever legitimately hated someone I've never met more than I hate Jamie Kennedy. So we'll see how those ones go.
The director of Eden Lake.
Next week, though, into a still good but not quite as good Tremors 2 next week. Should have been called Tremors 2. Bacon wouldn't take our call. Until then, be good, everyone.
Thanks, Joe. I don't think I've seen past part 2 on Tremors either. Well, I mean, not to say either, but because he said he saw the third one, but I don't think I'd ever seen. Have you seen? And they did his TV series too, didn't they?
Wasn't it called Back to Perfection or something like that?
I don't remember.
Oh, that's Tremors 3 is Back to Perfection. Okay, so it's Aftershocks is the next one.
Yeah,
that was in '96. And then nothing until 2004, Tremors 4, The Legend Begins. Did you know there was a 2020 Tremors called Shrieker Island?
Nope. I kind of wish I didn't.
Oh, what's his face? Michael Gross is in it. And Richard Brake. And what? John Heder? What?
All right. Let's see what Reverend Scott has to say this week. I recently went back in and re-uploaded every Outside the Cinema t-shirt that I could find that we ever put up on TeePublic.
First of all, there's not a single Enchanted Snake Charmer of Death ESCOD shirt on there.
Oh,
not to mention, why has there never been a holy shit with Reverend Scott vaguely religious church-looking shirt before? Chris, as they say on Star Wars, make it so.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. With Reverend Scott. Here's your full-size burger. That's a slider. No, it's a full-size burger.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott, here with another segment of Holy Shit.
All right.
And this week, I'm going to talk about a movie I never imagined would get made, and I was glad it hadn't been. But then it was, and I saw it, and I have some thoughts. But you have to wait a few to hear that because I need to talk about the reviews from last week for just a few minutes.
Okay.
Sure. Sure.
Starting with a sequel to a remake.
All right, Terror Train 2. 2022, actually. Sorry, I thought it was 2023.
No one cares. Let's hear a trailer.
Terror Train 2, a Tubi original. Let's play the trailer for it. I am not connected. Why am I not connected? I should be. I connected it before we started. I made sure to connect it before we started. Oh, farts in your face.
Okay.
Hold on. Hold, please.
You should definitely throw this
Now,
in the end.
what happened
though.
here?
I got bored. That's what happened. More importantly, what happened on Terror Train 2? Well, apparently some girl named Milana is supposed to be doing what, Bill?
Not a dissection, but a... what the hell's the word? Why can't I think of it?
Yeah, it is. You're to learn, right? It's a medical... Oh, you're talking autopsy. but it's
Autopsy,
also
yes, Jesus.
It's also a dissection.
Yes.
in a way.
So, and she keeps getting flashbacks of her friend that died, and she's seeing her friend, and I can't do it.
And Alana was just dumb enough to go back on the same train that she almost got killed on to give a killer a second chance. Aw, I believe in second chances, so that was very noble of her. Also, there's a murder party app. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I think there's a shitty clown mask, so I give it a B+. And since you also stupidly returned to that train to review this, I give your review a B-. After that was
Doom Asylum, 1987.
Tell me about the plot, guys.
This is a weird one. This movie's weird. It is weird. Doom Asylum. Okay.
Thanks for the summary. I'll take it from here. So some lawyer named Mitch gets in a wreck with his girlfriend named... what was it?
He crawls over to her. What was her name? Karen?
I don't remember.
Hang on, I should be able to find it right here. Tina? No, Tina was one of the rock band girls. Judy? I think it was Judy, maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
Sure.
So anyway, his girlfriend Susan is dead and he's disfigured and I think he's dead too, but then he's not dead and he kills all the doctors in the hospital.
Is that supposed to be the hospital? Is that supposed to be the asylum?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, it's stupid.
It is. And speaking of stupid, there's now a shitty band picnicking near the asylum and the blonde lead singer is just as annoying when she talks as you would expect her to be.
Whatever, let's get these guys.
So the shitty band roams the halls of the asylum and suddenly dead Mitch from the past is trying to kill them. Not sure that sounds original even for 1987. At least it was weird. Anything else I should know?
They got like 60 minutes and they were like, this isn't long enough. Can you roam the halls randomly a few times and we'll just use the stock footage from this old British movie?
Sounds like it really wasted your time. So for that alone, Doom Asylum gets an A-, and the review gets a B+. But enough about that old shit. What new shit did I see? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I went to the AMC IMAX and I watched Gladiator Roman numeral 2, a film that when it was announced 24 years after the original, fans everywhere collectively said out loud to Ridley Scott,
Dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Then I remembered how much I liked Maximus's friend Juba from the end of Gladiator 1. As he buried the wooden figures in the dirt, I thought to myself, where will his story go? What interesting things happen to him after this movie? I'm pumped for a sequel.
Oh, but there's a problem.
That's about the time that they announced the cast for the sequel. Fans again collectively said,
What is happening?
I have no idea.
However, I saw Connie Nielsen was returning, who has barely aged a day in the last 24 years, might I add. Pedro Pascal would be there due to his contractual obligation to be in everything. And then I saw the scenery-chewing Denzel Washington in the trailer, and I started to think,
All right, this is gonna work.
but of course there's no Juba, just some dude that calls himself Hanno. He fights alongside his wife against General Pedro Pascal's army, and the wife is killed, and Hanno is captured and enslaved, and you'll never guess what they force Hanno to do next. Be a gladiator.
No
Okay,
shit.
yeah, that works.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
works.
And that's always nice to see.
Sound familiar so far? But fear not. Instead of an old white guy forcing Hanno to fight, it's an old black guy. And instead of one crazy emperor, there's two crazy emperors. And instead of chariot fights, we get boat fights. And instead of throwing a sword at the emperor, there's an arrow shot at the emperors. And instead of a tiger, we get baboons, a rhino, and sharks.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
And instead of a gladiator with charisma and screen presence, we get Hanno.
I'm joking, but it's true.
And for over half the runtime, it feels like this is just a Mad Libs of the original script with different things inserted to make it seem different, which it's not really. Which is hilarious because the original 2000 Gladiator script was terrible. It was only saved by last-minute rewrites and shooting the movie chronologically while Russell Crowe improvised lines and actions that only later became iconic scenes and plot points. It's a miracle the original turned out as amazing as it did.
Which is bizarre. But
Yeah.
also at the same time, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I was going to say bizarre, but not.
Bizarre, but fine. I'm okay.
But when it comes to Gladiator Roman numeral 2, however, there's no Russell Crowe here to help guide the story. Denzel is truly entertaining to watch, and you can tell how his character is manipulating those around him to gain power, but it starts to go completely off the rails the further into the film it gets. Pedro Pascal's talent is completely wasted with his character's story. Connie Nielsen plays a big part to a twist in the story, but is later disrespected totally. And by the end of the film, Denzel goes from calculated to just plain reckless and borderline nonsensical. It's like Ridley Scott got about 75% of the way through this story and just kind of gave up. I can hear him now rereading the end of the script like,
Well, there's a lot of stuff that I just didn't think about with this because what's the point?
but here's the good news. Paul Mescal, or whatever his name is, does a fine job as the lead. The brother emperors are fun to hate, and if you're a guy like me, you're gonna love the action and violence in this.
I'm a guy that I'm a guy like me.
So at the end of the day, you get some worthwhile entertainment out of watching Gladiator Roman numeral 2, if for nothing else, the spectacle of it all.
Yeah, that was at least a reason.
It was a reason.
I could hear Russell Crowe in the back of my mind yelling,
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
which by the way was a line improvised by Crowe on the set that day. So I guess I recommend Gladiator Roman numeral 2 if you like a good train wreck with pretty scenery and violence. And overall, I give it a B-. Well, that's about all I have for this week.
Like, okay, great.
But you know, I could keep talking about some other things I saw. I saw some other movies like Venom 3 and Moana 2.
No. That's not how it works.
Okay, fine. Well, until the next cookie cutter sequel 2.5 decades after the original, peace and love, guys. Outside the cinema, over 16 years of podcasts for, I don't know, some reason.
Yeah, why the fuck do we do all this dumb shit? Nobody likes it. We all get stressed. Let's do something that like everybody can just enjoy.
Is that drugs or like what exactly is that? All right. Sorry. I'm going to fix all that in post, I swear. Maybe maybe I won't. We'll see. Hey, thanks for listening, guys. You can go to Facebook, follow our Facebook group over there. Follow Chris and I on Instagram at Cthulhu. Like Cthulhu, only Cthulhu, because Chris's name is Chris, not Cthulhu.
Right. Not
it's
yet.
Cthulhu.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
You got it. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/outside the cinema. I didn't hear back from anybody, but I also didn't send out the poll question I was going to do, so I guess never mind. Strike that. Next week, we're doing the spiritual successor, I guess, to Tremors. We're doing that big spider movie, right?
Yeah, Infested. Right? That's what it's called.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Cool. Yeah. Talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
And lesbian games.